Well, congratulations for getting through video 1 and 2 and starting video 3. Now, if you haven't seen video 1 and 2, please go to the description below and find the links for those videos. This was a 3-part series meant to be seen in order. It's cumulative. Now, the first video was about inverter and watts. The second was about battery capacity and watt hours. This video is about power outage protocol and what to do when the power goes out. It'll be about solar panels and solar power. And finally, I'll talk about a few different power outage scenarios, and I'll use information from videos 1 and 2 to solve those problems. Now, my wife and I moved to the mountains in the early 2000s, and we lived there for about 7 years. And every winter we had power outages lasting from a day to a week. So I came up with a protocol, things to do when the power goes out. And I typed it up for you, and you can download this. Just go to the description below. It's called Power Outage Protocol. Now, before I get into this, I want to talk about how to get information when the power is out. So let me show you a few things that I have that help with that. So here are some ways you can get information during a power outage. This is an AM/FM shortwave weather alert radio. It has a little solar panel on it, and you can crank it for power. Has rechargeable battery in it, and also you can put in your own AA batteries. This is just your AM/FM radio. It'll run on batteries as well. Both of these will run on a portable power station, but I wouldn't recommend that. Use batteries so you can save power. Ham radio, rechargeable battery, and if you don't have a license, you can at least listen in. And of course your cell phone, scanner, and then finally an antenna for a TV. Preferably a TV that doesn't use much power, but you'll need some type of antenna for it, and this works really well for us. So I'll have links below for more information about all of these things. Okay, now on to my suggested protocol for a power outage. Okay, in addition to all the devices I just talked about, you might consider installing an app from your utility company if they actually provide one, because there's a lot of information they might have on that during a power outage, as well as news and weather and those types of apps. Okay, now to the protocol. The first thing to do is plug in the most important devices, the priority devices. Know ahead of time what those are going to be. You don't want to have the power outage 2 in the morning and think, oh my God, what do I plug in? What do I do? You just know ahead of time what to plug in. You may not leave it in after you have evaluated what the power outage is all about and the length of time, but you just get that done. Know what you're going to plug in and do it. Number 2, find out when the power will be restored. Now, everywhere I've lived in different places, different utility companies, every one of them had an app, and all of them would give an estimate on the power restoration time. So that's very helpful. Even when you should stay on top of that, because you're going to make decisions with your portable power station based on when the power might be restored. 3, find out what caused the power outage. Well, you'll need that, especially if you don't know when the power is going to be restored. You have to make some judgments on your own. 4, find out how widespread the power outage is. That's helpful because if you have family or friends who live outside of the power outage and they're only 20 minutes away, you can bring your portable power station over there and charge it up when it's low on charge. 5, what will the weather be like for the next few days? You need to know that so you can make plans of how to ration your power, and because you have solar panels hopefully, and make some plans. Now, there's a protocol I have here if you suspect the power may go out. Weather-related events, you might be warned that the power may go out. That's what my wife and I had to deal with in February 2021 in Texas. So the first thing you want to do there is fully charge your portable power station. A lot of people that have lithium batteries don't keep them above 80% charged. If you have UPS available, uninterrupted power source, in other words, you plug your generator in and then you plug in your refrigerator, so when the power goes out, it automatically kicks on for you. So if that's available, you might want to start that up. Be sure you have enough fuel in your gas generators and propane, and do that early. Next would be bring your extension cords in the house. It may be unsafe to use extension cords on some devices like a heater. So be sure that it's safe to use those on whatever you want to run. 4, set up your solar panels ahead of time. It'll top off everything that has a battery, you know, cell phones, laptops, rechargeable batteries, and set your refrigerator and freezer to the lowest temperatures so that the food will stay cooler longer. And be sure your batteries in your wireless fridge, freezer, thermometer are in good shape. And I have a link right here to a review I did on one particular wireless thermometer you might be interested in, because I go into how it can help you ration power actually in a power outage. Okay, so now I'm going to be talking about solar power and solar panels. Now when sunlight or photons hit your solar panel generates electricity, as you know. But that's the very reason that I don't have my panels facing the sun when I'm connecting them. I don't know if it'll damage them, but I feel like it potentially could. Generating full power and connecting them, not a good idea in my opinion. Or put a towel over them or something. It's just a suggestion. Now there's going to be a major loss between your panels and your portable power station, and it starts with your panels. A panel rated 100 watts, for example, likely won't produce 100 watts. It's rated as though it's on the equator with the sun blasting directly down on it. So you have a loss there more than likely. The angle you place it at, the temperature of the panel, how dirty the panel is, the time of day, the time of year, the location on Earth, if you're near the equator. All these things are variables that affect the amount of power you're going to get. But the good news is, once you see the watts being put into your system in the display, it's fairly efficient from that point in. So now it's very similar to the output watts. When you see 200 watts going into your system, it's not getting that right away. It'll get it in an hour if it's 200 watts for the whole hour. If it varies, it'll get the average of that in an hour. So it's just like when you're having watts drawn out, same kind of principle. Your portable power station also has a maximum limit on how many amps, volts, and watts that will accept from your panels. So you need to size it correctly. You can damage something if you don't. So I'm going to do a video about how to do all this later, but I'm going to introduce it kind of right now. So you just need to be aware of the rating of your panels and make sure they'll work. Now if you're using more than one panel, you're going to connect them in series or parallel. And in series, what you do is you'll end up adding the volts together. So if you have 4 panels, you're going to add the volts and the amps stay the same. Parallel will be that you add the amps and the volts stay the same. So you have to consider all of that when you're considering the rating of the panels plus what your portable power station will accept. Now, my wife made this little chart here, and I really like this. Once you decide if you're connecting it parallel or series, just circle the one you use and put it in the little binder you keep your worksheets in next to your portable power station, so that it'll remind you how to hook it up, when the power goes out. You don't want to make a mistake with that. You can damage something. So the next thing I want to talk about is how to find out how many watt hours your panels will provide you. I suggest you practice. Put your panels out. What I did when I first started is I would put my panels on a perfect sunny day, and for a baseline. Then if you have a lithium battery, draw it down to about 20 to 30% state of charge. Place the portable power station in a spot where it will remain cool. And then plug in the solar panel and let it charge throughout the day. And then at the end of the day, find out what the state of charge is at that point. If it's 90%, then it just gave you 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 60% more. Multiply 0.60, 60%, times the watt hours that are available to you to use. And you learned that in the second video. For my Delta 1300, because of the efficiency of the inverter, I can use 1,000 watts of that. So if it gave me 60% more, then I multiply 0.60 times 1,000. That means it gave me during that day 600 watt hours, usable watt hours. A thunderstorm is on the way. It's very cloudy out. But I wanted to show you that taking readings on a very cloudy day can be helpful because power outages can happen at any time. And you want to know what your system will produce in this type of situation, even if it's minimal. Well, I've been running my 100 watt panel on this, like I said, a really cloudy day, and it's bringing in 54 watts. So I'm already at 31%. So I'll check back. I'm going to let it run until there's no sun or the thunderstorm starts. Now you can get what's called a cloud edge effect, and it basically will cause a spike in the watts. If you want to learn more about that, just go ahead and check out my link above. I did something on this, I think about 2016. All right, it's gotten really cloudy out there. You can see we're only getting 4 watts, and it's only 3. It's 3 in the afternoon. But it gave us 13% more. The battery capacity is 288 watt hours, but the efficiency of the inverter is 80%. So 288 times 0.80 gives us 230.4 watt hours that we can actually use. 230.4 watt hours times what it gave us, 0.13, equals 30 watt hours available for us to use. Anyway, I have to shut this down. If it goes all the way to 100%, do it again maybe, or and drop it, you know, the original state of charge down lower, or you can just go every hour, write down how many watt hours it appears to be giving you. If it's solid, it's pretty easy. If it's 300 watt hours, then or watts coming into your system the whole time for an hour, you write 300. But if it goes up and down, which it likely will, you're going to have to just be, it's a subjective thing. You're going to have to guess what the average watt hours are for each hour and add it up. And that's an approximate estimate of how many watt hours that it'll provide you. That's good to know if the power goes out, because then you can plan the next day having the panels out and know about how many watt hours you'll get after you check your weather app, right? Okay, so now I'm going to be talking about different power outage scenarios. Now for the next 3 scenarios, you can actually download under the description scenario 1, 2, and 3. And if in case you can't see this really well, just follow along. This is a pretty simple one. The power's out for 5 hours, and you know it'll be 5 hours. No sun, 1,000 watt hours you can use, 100% stated charge, and the inverter continuous running watts will work fine in this scenario. You want to run the following on your portable power station. Your refrigerator for 5 hours, TV 15 minutes, microwave 10, and coffee maker for a cycle. The total watt hours used would be 918 watt hours. That's simple. Simple math here. Yeah, you can do this if it's going to be out only for 5 hours. But number 1, how would you change your usage if you didn't know how long the power would be out? Just pause the video and think about it a second. Well, I would not run any of this. I would just run the refrigerator. Number 2, how would you change the usage above if you could use your solar panels and they brought in 200 watt hours to the battery every hour for 5 hours only? So you'd get 1,000 watt hours until night hits and the power will still be out. Go ahead and pause the video and think about it a second. In this case, I wouldn't change a thing because it's using 918 watt hours and your solar panels are bringing in 1,000. Your battery is going to be 100% stated charge for the evening. So there's no reason to use fewer watts. If you did, you're wasting solar power. Okay, now to the second scenario. For scenario 2, the power went out at noon and it's raining, dark out, so you can't use your panels. You only have 600 watt hours to use. You don't know how long the power will be out. Now the fridge uses 88 watt hours per hour. And so you can run it for almost 7 hours. You want to use the microwave for 10 minutes, but it uses 26 watt hours per minute, so it will take 260 watt hours out of your battery. What should you do? So it seems pretty obvious. You're not going to use your microwave because you need to reserve the power for the refrigerator. And that was very simple. But the reason I'm asking this is because it'd be better if you looked at it from the perspective of you're taking away time from the refrigerator.
The microwave is going to cost 260 watt hours, and the fridge needs 88 watt hours to run every hour. So just divide 260 by 88. Basically, the microwave is going to cost you 3 hours of runtime from the refrigerator. So instead of running 7 hours, it only has 4 hours to run. Now, this is important to look at it this way because the priority or the importance of the appliance has to be taken into account. For example, if you wanted to run your refrigerator the same way in the scenario here, but you also wanted to run a medical device that will keep you alive, well, that would reduce the fridge time to 4 hours instead of 7, but it would be worth it because you'll die without it. So it's good to kind of look at what the results will be, not just the fact that it will take more out of the battery bank. Okay, so now to scenario 3. Now in scenario 3, you again have a 5-hour power outage, no solar. Your Delta 1300 can use 1,000 watt hours. Its battery capacity is 1260, but because the inverter's 80% efficient, you can only use 1,000 watt hours, and it's 100% state of charge. You have it's rated 1,800 continuous running watts, 3,300 surge watts. The surge watts are going to work fine in this scenario. Okay. You want to run the refrigerator 5 hours, coffee maker for a cycle, TV 1 hour, computer 1 hour, and your toaster will take 2 minutes. The total watt hours used will be 938. The total running watt demand will be 2,868 watts. Can you run everything starting at the same time? And if not, why? And what is a solution? So go ahead and pause the video and think about it a little bit. The answer is no, you can't run it at the same time because the running watts would be 2,868, but you only have 1,800 to use. This works fine, your watt hours. So what's a solution? Well, one solution could be just run the refrigerator and coffee maker, and when the coffee's done, run the refrigerator and the toaster, and then when that's done, run the rest. There's other solutions as well. Okay, now I'm going to be talking about a real life scenario that my wife and I went through in February 2021, and that's the Texas power outage.
In February 2021, my wife and I went through a major power outage in Texas, along with 4.5 million other families and businesses. 75% of Texas was on rolling blackouts. There were parts of Texas that hadn't seen sub-zero temperatures for 30 years. Now, we had a warning that this could happen, and even a warning from the water company that the water could be shut off. Now, I had preps anyway for this type of emergency, but since we were given a warning, I used my protocol and prepared everything in the event that could happen. So I did a video on how we were preparing for the possibility of a power outage. And that night the power went out, and I thought, well, I'll just do another video live about how I'm taking care of the situation as it's happening. And then after that, I made another video, and then it ended up being a 5-part series on how we handled the power outage. And I would really like you to take a look at this series. It'd be a nice way to round off everything that you've learned in the last 3 videos. Because a power outage type of emergency is not all about just replacing the power. A lot of people have the idea that, you know, everything's fine, power goes out, just replace the power and everything's fine. And that's not the case. There's a lot more to it, and that's why I want you to check out that link of my video. If you could, once you see the first video, in the description there's links for the other 4. Now, one more thing, I have a test that I put together, and I call it the final. And it's a test that will test you on all of the information from videos 1, 2, and 3. And it's not easy. It's a really hard test. So give it a shot. Don't feel bad if you can't pass it, though. And the answer's in it. Just read it. And if you understand the question and the answer and how it all works, then that's really what matters. Okay, with that said, I wanted to thank you for watching the 3 videos, participating in it if you did. Good for you. My wish is for you to be able to feel confident if the power goes out, that you can manage the power. And that's my wish for you. And so like the video if you liked it, I'd appreciate that, and subscribe. But most importantly, if you could please share this video, because there's so many people that need this information. I know there's tons of people, but I'm not sure they'll have access to it. They won't. It's not probably that searchable. So the more you share it, I think the more you'd be helping people. So thank you again for going through this whole thing. It makes me feel like I've done something for somebody. I really like that. So have a great day, and again, thanks for watching.